Hey Tech Nerds, I'm back at Starting Up HK here on Health Tech Day with my new friend Chang. How are you doing here today?
Good, thanks.
All right. So you're here with Asia Microbiota Bank, right?
That's right.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, sure. So the Asia Microbiota Bank is the first stool bacteria bank in Asia. Now, why would you want that, right?
So sexy.
Yeah, I know. That was like what I was planning to do in my future career. No, so actually, may not be sexy, but it's very important for helping people. It's actually one of the most powerful medical tools that can be used to restore somebody's imbalanced gut bacteria.
Right.
So what happens when patients have, say, a C. difficile infection or take a heavy course of antibiotics or have irritable bowel syndrome is their gut bacteria gets imbalanced. And you can take probiotics, you can take different kinds of healthy foods, but sometimes those just aren't strong enough.
Okay.
And so what's been done in the West, in the US and in Europe, is actually what's called a fecal transplant. So we're really increasing on the sexy scale here. And the fecal transplant is basically what it sounds like. From a very healthy human is collected a stool sample,
Right.
which
They've
is
got all the right gut bacteria.
the right gut bacteria, and then that's processed to kind of clean it up, so to speak, and then it's put into the patient.
Yes.
That can be done through like a colonoscopy
Or
even,
so this is
one of the things that we've been working on is actually capsules, or we call them crapsules. Actually, we're not the first ones to come up with that, but so essentially what's in here is like the world's most powerful broad spectrum probiotic.
Okay.
And it contains over 500 different species of bacteria. And so if you compare that to kind of your off-the-shelf probiotic, that might have like 10 or 15 types of bacteria. So you can tell it's like obviously a lot more powerful. And so we're offering as a clinical service in Hong Kong, one of the Asia's first private, what we call human microbiota transplant procedures.
So if you guys are the bank, right? So who do you serve then? Who are your customers or your clients?
Yeah, so we work with doctors in Hong Kong and actually all around Asia. We have doctor partners in Singapore, in Thailand, in mainland China, and Japan. And they identify patients which are suitable for this medical procedure and then write a prescription. And frequently carry out the procedure themselves. We also have trained staff that can carry out a procedure if a patient has a medical prescription.
Right. That's okay. So, how did you get into this? This wasn't your initial plan, right? To get into this world. Did you come from the medical side? Have you performed this procedure, or what happened in your life to bring you to this world?
Yeah. When did I get hit on the head to say I'm going to start a stool bank? No. So actually, as a kid, we all love playing with poop, right? So maybe that was the first inspiration. But actually, so my background is more on the business side of medicine. So I used to work as an investor in the pharmaceutical and healthcare industries, but it was really through my own personal journey with some gut problems, as well as a friend of mine here in Hong Kong, that we started to look for solutions that were not just normal medicine, because those weren't working for us.
Right.
And so we tried everything in the book. We tried dieting, we tried like probiotics and all this kind of stuff, and actually found a lot of benefit from that. And so that kind of woke us up to the idea of there are more solutions out there than just the medicine that you can get from the doctor. So as we started to look at why does this work? Why does changing your diet help your gut? Why do probiotics work? We came across this whole field of microbiome. So like you mentioned, the name of our organization is the Asia Microbiota Bank.
Yes.
And so microbiome is essentially the little biome, the little ecosystem that lives in our guts. And so we started to study, what are the different methodologies of intervening in the gut microbiome. And there's something as simple as, like I said, a diet change, or, antibiotics is one of the most common ways, but that's like if you have a forest, that's like leveling it with a bomb, like with napalm.
Yeah.
So once that happens, how do you build it back up? And that's what we started to look into, and that's when we came across this very strange but apparently very effective technique of fecal transplant.
Yeah.
So these transplants actually first started in like the 50s in the US.
So it's been around for a while then.
Been around for a little while.
So the innovation here is in sort of the role that you play within this whole process.
Right, exactly. So it was just kind of an off-stream medical technique that was used here and there by very innovative and open-minded doctors. But in about 2012, the first stool bank in the US started called Open Biome. And so we looked at that and we said, well, that's really interesting. That's great for serving Americans in America, but what about people living in Asia?
Right.
And then the second question we asked was, is there an easier way to actually administer the procedure? And so that's when we came up with the capsules.
Yes. All right. So just a quick check then, because this could be very good news for some people. My sister became lactose intolerant, and she thinks it's because she took a very aggressive course of antibiotics. Could you hypothetically help her eat cheese again?
That is a very important question. So actually, my own personal journey is that I was a total dairy lover growing up, and I could have cheese and milkshakes and whatever. And around college years, I actually became lactose intolerant. Okay, so what happened? Well, I don't actually know, but the more interesting thing is that I actually went on one of these kind of crazy diets that I was trying, and actually coming out of that was now lactose tolerant. So now I can have milk in my coffee and dairy and cheese and whatever. So that was through a diet change. This medical procedure specifically is more for severe patient cases. So cases of patients with, say, ulcerative colitis, irritable bowel syndrome, cases where they may have tried different medications, but then they need something more powerful. And so probably my first step at taking a look at somebody who's got a lactose intolerant wouldn't be suggesting a human microbiota transplant, right? Maybe you really love dairy, then you just got to have it. But no, we actually have worked with doctors around the world and seen that there are published clinical trials on patients with really severe conditions that have benefited from these human microbiota transplants or fecal transplants. And so that's kind of the group of patients that we work with doctors to work with. And but in the future, what we're hoping to do is start to figure out what kind of bacteria are playing a role in these different transplants.
All the other potential applications of the innovation,
Exactly.
Right?
So it's kind of what's the next generation of probiotics? What's the next generation of medicines coming out of these microbiota transplants?
All right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, again, John Chang here with Asia's Microbiota Bank, showing that there's a whole range of health tech going on today. So keep following us. Stay tuned for more videos from Starting Up HK.